Picture your school like a giant group chat where the messages are data, some stuff is private, some stuff must stay accurate, and everyone panics if the chat goes down right before the deadline. Today we're using two security cheat codes, CIA Triad and AAA, to explain how real security teams decide what to protect and how to control access without turning the whole network into chaos. The CIA Triad stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and it's the three fundamental principles of information security that serve as a guiding framework for organizations to implement effective security measures and protect valuable data, basically answering, who is allowed to see it, can we trust it, and can we get to it when we need it? Confidentiality means authorized users are the only ones who can access confidential information, and its purpose is to prevent unauthorized access, disclosure, or theft of data, so your grades, medical info, or passwords don't become public content. Access and privacy controls protect confidentiality by using identification, claiming who you are, authentication, proving who you are, and authorization, what you're allowed to do, and examples of controls include access control lists, encryption, and data masking, with authentication controls like passwords, biometrics, and PINs helping keep the wrong people out. Integrity means information remains accurate and complete and hasn't been tampered with or modified in any unauthorized way, and its purpose is to protect data from accidental or malicious alterations, deletions, or forgery so the information stays trustworthy. Integrity controls include checksums, digital signatures, and versioning systems, and a classic example is using file hashes and checksums to detect changes, because if someone edits even one tiny part, integrity checks can reveal that the data is not the same as before. Attacks on integrity are especially dangerous because they're often the hardest to detect and deter, since the system might look fine while the data is quietly wrong. Availability means authorized users have timely and reliable access to information and systems when needed, and its purpose is to prevent legitimate users from being blocked by disruptions, outages, or attacks. Availability can be impacted by natural events like fires, floods, and hurricanes, environmental events like power outages, or artificial events like a DDoS attack, so organizations protect availability using redundancy, recovery planning, and performance monitoring to keep services running when people actually need them. The CIA Triad is important because it provides a simple and understandable framework for developing and implementing security controls, helping organizations balance various security risks and prioritize resources without guessing. It also works everywhere, different industries, different system sizes, because confidentiality, integrity, and availability apply to all information systems, and that flexibility is why it shows up so often in real security work and in exam questions. Digital forensics is the application of scientific principles to provide assurance in explaining what has or has not happened on a computer system, and it's way less TV magic and way more prove it properly. For evidence to be useful, there must be non-repudiation with the evidence, meaning there's no doubt it was not tampered with, which can be supported by hashing or running backups/data through a one-way algorithm to get a checksum, then comparing checksums to confirm the evidence hasn't changed. The earliest known state of the data when it was collected is called provenance, and preserving the original data matters because it must still exist in case it's used as evidence. The AAA framework stands for Authentication, Authorization, and Accounting, and it's a way to understand security issues surrounding the accessibility of individuals within an organization when they try to access network resources. In simple terms, a user provides identification, like a username and password, then the system checks who they are, authentication, decides what they're allowed to access, authorization, and records what happened, accounting, so access is controlled and actions can be tracked instead of turning into trust me bro security. Authenticating people means verifying a person's identity to make sure they are who they claim to be, and the purpose is protecting sensitive information, preventing unauthorized access, and maintaining security across systems. Common methods include knowledge-based authentication like passwords, PINs, or security questions, possession-based authentication like keycards, USB tokens, or smart cards, biometric authentication like fingerprint scanners, facial recognition, or voice recognition, and multi-factor authentication, which combines two or more methods to increase confidence that the user is legit. Authenticating systems means verifying the identity of a device, computer, or application to ensure it is authorized to access resources or communicate with other systems, and the purpose is protecting networks, data, and resources from unauthorized access and malicious activity. Methods include credentials-based authentication like usernames and passwords, API keys, or digital certificates, token-based authentication using hardware or software tokens, biometric-style system methods like device fingerprinting or behavioral biometrics, mutual authentication where both client and server authenticate each other, and zero-trust architecture, which assumes no system is trustworthy by default and requires verification instead of automatic trust. Authorization models define the rules and policies that govern who can access what resources or perform what actions within a system, and their purpose is enforcing security, ensuring compliance, and protecting sensitive data in a controlled, repeatable way. Choosing an authorization model depends on factors like system complexity and access requirements, data sensitivity, compliance requirements, ease of management, and how much flexibility you need, because the best model is the one that fits your environment without creating loopholes or admin nightmares. Access control lists, ACLs, assign access permissions directly to specific users or groups for each resource, making them simple and straightforward when the system is small. The trade-off is that ACLs can become very complex in larger systems because you're managing permissions resource by resource, which can turn into a messy spreadsheet of who can do what if you're not careful. Role-based access control, RBASI, assigns permissions to roles like admin, guest, or editor, and then users are assigned roles based on responsibilities, which simplifies management and enhances security. The purpose is to avoid building permissions from scratch for every single user, because you can manage roles once and place users into them, which is especially helpful when lots of people share the same job function. Attribute-based access control, ABASI, grants permissions based on attributes such as a user's department, location, device type, time of day, and similar factors, which makes it very granular and flexible. ABAC is well suited for complex environments with dynamic access needs, because access decisions can adapt to context instead of being locked to a single role or static list. Rule-based access control, RBASI, uses rules to define access conditions, often expressed as if-then statements, and its purpose is allowing customized access logic that matches specific security requirements. RBAC can be combined with other models for greater flexibility, because rules can enforce conditions like time windows, network location, or special exceptions without rewriting the entire permission structure. Mandatory access control enforces access restrictions based on security labels assigned to users and resources, and it is centrally controlled by the system, which is why it's often used in high-security environments. MAC offers a high degree of protection but can be less flexible for user-specific needs, and it is not the same thing as a Media Access Control Address, even though the acronym tries to confuse everyone on purpose. Key takeaway: CIA defines what you must protect: confidentiality, integrity, availability, and AAA defines how access is verified, controlled, and tracked: authentication, authorization, accounting, which together explain the core of real-world security controls. If this helped, consider liking and subscribing for more lessons like this.